Alright, today we're going to be working through the review for your test. The following scatter plot shows Pam's training as she prepares to run a 6-mile race at the end of the month. Which of the following would be a reasonable approximation for the length of time it would take for her to run 6 miles? Anytime you're making an estimation from a scatter plot, you need to sketch a trend line. Your trend line should go through the middle of the points. I have approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 points above, 1, 2, 3, 4 points below. So using the 6 miles, because my x-axis is miles, I go to 6, I follow it up, and mine is about 60. Question 2. If Gold's Gym is looking to buy 10 TVs, how much will each one cost? Again, to make an approximation, you need to sketch your trend line, and then 10 TVs. Right here, you use the trend line, not the point. And mine looks like it's about $1,000. Determine the correlation coefficient and decide whether it is weak, moderate, or strong. So to determine the correlation coefficient, this is your R value. We have to have a calculator. So I click Stat, Edit. I'm going to type in all of my points. I do my Y values. So to get that correlation coefficient, you first have to click Mode and go down to Stat Diagnostics and make sure that they are on. Then I do my normal Stat Right 4. So my R value is 0.895. 0.895, which would round up to a 0.90. So I know it's not A or C. And then the closer it is to either positive 1 or negative 1, the stronger it is. So 0.9 is pretty strong. It's close to 1. Moderate would mean it's somewhere between 0.4 and 0.6, kind of in the middle. What is the correlation coefficient of the data? So again, that's your R value. So my Stat Diagnostics is already on, so I'm just going to go back to Stat, clear out my tables, and type in my new values. Then Stat Right 4. And my R value is 0.919. Make sure, because that doesn't match any of my data. 13, 21, 30. This is a 31, not a 21. 32, 34. Let's try again. Stat Right 4. Now I got 0.998. There it is, 0.9984. So it's very careful. Be very careful when you're typing in the data to make sure it's all typed in correctly. Describe the relationship between the variables. So if I was to draw a trend line, I would say it's going something like that. So that is negative because it's going down, so it's not A or B. But those dots are very spread out. And when the dots are very spread out, I like to think of a magnet. A weak magnet, all of the metal kind of stays far away. It's a strong magnet that pulls it close. So this is a weak negative correlation. Describe the correlation of this graph shown. So if I drew my trend line, that is positive because it's going up, so it's not A or C. And those dots are very close to the line. So the magnet is pulling all those dots close together, so that is a strong correlation. What is the line of best fit? This just means put this in Stat. So Stat, Edit, y values. And because we don't know that last value, I'm going to delete it from that table as well. So we're just going to delete that since we don't know what matches up with it. Stat right 4. That first value is your x, so 1.82x plus 5.02. That b value is your constant. So C. The table shown is comparing a person's foot length to their height in centimeters. Calculate a line of best fit. So again, we're entering these into stat. So once you have all your data points typed in, stat right 4. So it's 5.57, so it's not A or C. And then the constant is 25.05, and it is a positive. Number 9, the table is comparing the person's foot length to their height in centimeters. Calculate a line of best fit. Use the equation to estimate the height when the foot length is 28. So I'm going to use that equation I got on the last problem, 5.57x plus 25.05. So I go to y equals 5.57x plus 25.05. And I'm looking for when the foot length is 28. So I need to go down to 28 in my x column, and it's 181.01. So you can use the equation that you get from linear regression to answer other questions. As incidents of texting increase, the number of car crashes increase. So anytime you're asking yourself if it's a causation, ask yourself, does it have to happen? If you are texting, do you have to get in a car crash? No, you don't. Are you more likely to? Yes, that's why it's a correlation, but you do not have to. Texting you is not the root cause of the car crash, or the only cause for sure. Which of the following statements shows a causation? An individual's decision to work in construction and his diagnosis of skin cancer. So if you work in construction, do you have to get skin cancer? No. A child's weight increases, so does her vocabulary. So as your weight increases, do you have to increase your vocabulary? No. A decrease in temperature and the increase in attendance at ice skating rinks. So the colder it gets, do more people have to go ice skating? No. The number of minutes spent exercising, so the more you work out, do you have to burn more calories? Yes. So remember, causation, ask yourself, does it have to happen? All right, the situation described by the graph is, as the number of TV purchases increased, so as this is going up, the price per TV decreases. Got to look to see what the y-axis is. And because this is a negative correlation, I know that one thing is increasing and one thing is decreasing. Since they're already giving me an increase, I know it has to be a decrease. Does the graph show a proportional relationship? So for it to be proportional, that's direct variation, which means it has to be linear and go through the origin. Well, this is linear, but this is the origin right here. So no, it is not proportional. It's not direct variation. Again, For it to be proportional, it has to be linear and go through the origin. Because this has a y-intercept of -5 and not 0, we know that it's not direct variation. Is this proportional? It's going through the origin, but is that a straight line? No, that is a curved line, so that is not proportional. Which statement describes the relationship between x and y in the table? I personally, anytime they give me a table, like to put it in stat. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 24. So my equation that goes with this is y equals 4x, and my b value is 0, which means that it is linear and it is going through the origin, which makes it proportional. If you were to do it by hand, you can see if your y over x is the same each time. So this is your y value, 8 over 2, that equals 4. 16 over 4, that equals 4. 24 over 6, that equals 4. Using the graph, what is the constant of proportionality? So to find the constant of proportionality, this is like your slope if it's proportional. So is this proportional? It's a straight line and it's going through the origin, so yes. So all I need to do is find the slope. So I'm going to find 2 points. Let's see. So here's a pretty point at 5:10, and here's a pretty point at 10:20. You can either do this by hand or you can do it in the calculator. Put it in stat. I'm going to do it by hand. 10 to 20 is plus 10. 5 to 10 is plus 5. It is delta y over delta x. So 10 over 5, which equals 2. Now, if I had tried to do rise over run, I would not have been going up 2 and over 1. So that's why it helps to go ahead and create your table and put it in stat or do it by hand, especially when the scale that you're going by is funny, because this is going by 5s. Y varies directly with x. So that means that this is proportional. So I can set up a fraction. I like to create it in a table when they're giving me x and y values. So y is 84 when x is 16. What is the value of x when y is 21? You're going to cross multiply and then divide. So we take 16 times 21 divided by 84, and we get 4. Based off the graph, which of the following is a true statement? About 2 centimeters of rain fell each hour. Let me see, there's 2 at 1 hour. There should be 4 at 2 hours. Yep, that's about 2 centimeters. That could be correct. About 1 centimeter of rain fell each hour. No, we have 2 centimeters after 1 hour. About 4 centimeters of rain fell in 4 hours. 4 centimeters of rain happened in 2 hours, so no. 5 centimeters of rain, technically that'd be up here, in 5 hours, no. So that first option was the correct answer. It's always best to go ahead and read through your other options just to make sure that I didn't miss something. The Disney World charges a base charge for a vacation package for a family of 4, and then charges $2.25 for each additional child. Based on the information given in the graph, what does Disney charge for the base package or base vacation package? So we know how much it is for each additional because that's how much it's increasing each time. But the base charge or your initial fee is where it's starting. So this is starting right here, somewhere between $500 and $1,000. So we know it's not $500, we know it's not $2,300, we know it's not $150. This is directly in between $500 and what would be $750, which is $625. So this can be called this base, what is charged for the base vacation package. This is your starting fee. Your y-intercept. Your setup. anything extra that you have to pay after the additional each, every, per, which is your slope. The following graph models the linear data that the linear relationship that DJ Mark charges based on the time spent DJing. Based on the graph, which of the best represents the rate of change, that's your slope, of the amount spent with respect to the time DJing. Anytime it's a graph and it's asking me for slope, I'm going to find some points. So it looks like I've got one at 0, 100, and then 4, 400. So I'm going to just put these in stat. 0, 4, that's not 0. 100, 400. Stat, right, 4. So my rate of change is 75. Now, if I wanted to do it by hand, to get from 100 to 400 is 300. 0 to 4 is 4. It's delta y over delta x, 300 over 4, which equals 75. In which table does y vary directly? I'm just going to put all of these tables in stat. I know it may take me a second, but the more comfortable I am with stat, the better. So when I put this first one in here, stat right 4, I get y equals 3x plus 1. So I know that this is not direct variation because it has a y-intercept of 1. So this is y equals 4x minus 2. Again, it has a y-intercept other than 0. Putting in the next one. Let me make sure I typed that in correctly. 15, 30, this is 60. Okay, so this is y equals 0.333333 is 1/3 x plus 0. Right here, we've got that plus 0. This is my direct variation. If we just wanted to check for that last one, oh my goodness, look what you see here. All of those y values equal 3. Your equation is just y equals 3. This does not go through the origin. Yes, there is a 0, but it's for the slope. The slope is 0. So if I was to put this in stat, right, 4, I get that my a value is 0. Y equals 0x plus 3. It's that b value that we need to be 0. So this is also not direct variation. What is the correlation coefficient? This is just a vocab word. Correlation coefficient is your R value, which represents a number -1 to 1 that describes how closely the scatter plot clusters around the line. It tells you how strong the relationship is. So make sure you have all of your work copied down so that way you have it ready for your test.